Some of you know what that was. As John Mayer once said, something's missing, and I don't know what it is. No, I don't know what it is. I too have felt this confusion. There was a deep hunger and thirst in my soul to be connected, to be known and to be loved and to be fulfilled, and I couldn't find it. I searched for it, but it came up lacking. What I didn't believe at the time is that Jesus alone, Jesus satisfies. That longing that I had, he satisfies. He knows me, he knows the depths of my soul, and he loves me. And that fervent longing that I had in there has been satisfied by Jesus. But more on that later. My name is Jeremy Barada. I shouldn't have looked at my parents. My name is Jeremy Barada still. I am the second son of a second son. I grew up in Syracuse, New York, to Raymond and Cheryl Barada, and I was the fourth of 5 Barada children. I was homeschooled, I went to church every Sunday, and we had a Awana Bible Club every Thursday night. I was busy, and I was always around a lot of people, both kids and adults. As life continued on and I grew older, I experienced a lot of loneliness, and in that loneliness, emptiness. I think of a few things as to why that was. The first reason that despite being around so many people, I didn't have much depth to my relationships. My family was passive and conflicts were typically avoided, and at the heart of it, I believe we simply wanted to be comfortable. The church I grew up in was very much the same. The second reason I felt empty was because I felt overlooked by others, both my family and my friends. It felt as if being me wasn't enough. Not that they hated me, they just tolerated having me around. I believed that if I wasn't around, no one would notice. So, over the years I learned to adapt. I became diverse in my interests and skills in order to fit in. I became an excellent planner, a good listener, and a caretaker. Whatever I could do to feel acceptance from people, especially those I was closest to. This, as you imagine, didn't work. If anything, it made things worse because I developed protective personalities that weren't the real me. So this yearning that I had in my soul to find fulfillment wasn't actually being found, instead I ended up even more lost. But instead of turning toward Jesus to see if he could satisfy, I turned from him, looking outside of him for the very thing that can only be found in knowing him. As I turned from him, I turned toward my American dream. Knowledge, money, a wife, comfort. In pursuing all these possibilities, I realized that now I wasn't after my soul's satisfaction, but my flesh's gratification. I gave my flesh what it wanted, and as I gave it what it wanted, it craved it more and more. This primarily played out with women. I was convinced that at a young age, marriage was the answer to all my problems. I wanted connection, love, to be known. I wanted depth, and I believed a wife could give me that. And when I say I was convinced that this was the answer, I was 12 when I first thought about getting married. That desire was later tainted by lust. And what started as a fairly small desire became an over-sexualized over-desire. Lusting over women became an obsession and a dependency. From there, it grew into pornography, to flirting over the phone with women, to hooking up, and to being involved in several sexual relationships with them. It was secretive, and it was manipulative. And all of this, I still went to church on every Sunday, even teaching youth groups about the Bible from time to time. I looked Christian, but I was far from Christ. And over time I traded God in for worthless idols, or as Jeremiah 2 puts it, I traded in a fountain of living water for broken cisterns that hold no water. I got so deep into my addiction that eventually the elders of my current church found out about this two-faced, secretive lifestyle, and they confronted me about it. After several talks, they told me they wanted me to look into coming to his mansion, a Christ-centered care facility in the middle of nowhere, New Hampshire. I applied, was accepted on May 23rd, 2016. I drove here from New York with my brother, Justin. Coming here was more about maintaining faith and a good reputation than it was about relationship with God. Back on May 23rd of 2016, intake day, I longed for this day, graduation day. But to me, it was a day that I could go back to living as freely as I wanted. It was my Independence Day. At the time, I strongly desired my sin, and I'd become dependent on it, and I wasn't sure I wanted to give it up. Actually, I was pretty set on not giving it up. Now, today, is a good day, but it's also a sad day. Not just because I'm leaving a people in a place that I spent the last year of my life, but because I'm leaving the people in the place God has used to bring me back to himself. In my time here, I heard the voice of Jesus calling me home, and despite the fact that I wanted sin, he wanted me, and he won. He always wins. I won too, because that longing for depth and love and connection that I had was found here, and experienced in my time here, both in God and with others. Also, I found the answers to the confusion I had about what was missing, about what my soul hungered and thirsted for. Simply put, what I was searching for was Jesus. Honest, real relationship with my Creator, who set his face on me a long time ago and has never looked away. The thirst I had could not be satiated by my own, but it's been satisfied by belief in Jesus. John 6:35 says this. Jesus said, I am the bread of life, and he who comes to me will not hunger, and he who believes in me will never thirst. So in that I did what James 4:8 says, and I drew near to God. Because in drawing near to God, I'm promised that he's going to draw near to me. And he did. The pains, the unbelief, the insecurities, weaknesses, he's drawn near to those places. In that, my trust in him has grown, my belief in him has grown, and I can stand up here and I can say that my thirst has been satisfied. I can stand up here and give God glory and testify that Jesus satisfies.